speaking to you is Reward. Here we are going to have a series of lectures about sexuality. We are going to rush through. Today is only going to be the introduction to sexuality. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, hit the subscribe button for us to give you more of our things and a glimpse of our things. And also hit the notification button, like the video. Let's move on. Sexuality, we see that it's a subject which is of matter in today's society, while at least many people are ignoring it. Such a shame that most people are in it, the sexuality subject, but while at least simultaneously ignoring the subject. We see sexuality, even tender children, little children, toddlers, they have an idea. Each and everyone has an idea of sexuality. They even, when they play, where they are playing as youngsters, they have an idea that I'm the mother, I'm the father. They have an idea, and there are some things which happen there according to their age. And also we see that young people, the teenagers, the adolescents, we see they have an idea of what sexuality is, and they are treating sexuality in a way which God has not designed it. For God had designed and gave men the right and said, be fruitful and multiply and subdue the earth. That's the gift which God gave man, the gift of sexuality. But after that, the devil sees that this thing is what is increasing the image of God, and he has tried to distort it. That's why you see there are some people who are practicing homosexuality. That's sexuality. They are practicing sodomization, that's sexuality in misconception. They are also watching pornography. Many young people, not only young people, even children, they are watching pornography. It's such a shame that the parents, they will only watch their children doing what is a disgraceful thing to do. There are some people who are caught up in those things. There are some people who are also watching movies. Parents watch movies with their young children, which portray bad sexual immorality, perverseness, which is only increasing day by day. We see that sexuality is a matter which, when spoken about in a room, people feel uneasy, but many people are affected by it. Many people, many young people, even those in marriage, they are affected by masturbation. They are addicted with it, but people seem to ignore that matter. Many people are focusing on things which do not matter, but rather living the thing which matter. Jesus says in Matthew chapter 5, he says, if any of you have heard that you shall not commit adultery, but if any of you looks at a woman lustfully, he has committed adultery. So the point which is being brought by Jesus is of lust. Why? Because lust is the first sin which made our mother Eve to sin. Lust made her to take the fruit. So when you are led by lust, you do things which are out of principle. So Jesus is saying, guard the avenues of your souls, guard the avenues of your mind, what you think, what you see with your eyes, guard your senses, guard how you feel. Why? Because the devil is using sexuality in a bad way so that he may turn many souls against God in disobedience. And the punishment for disobedience is final destruction. So we have to take heed on this subject of sexuality. Young people, even old people, have to be taught. Why? Because you see, there are stories which come about a father raping their child, about a mother sleeping with their child, about a man vandalizing the woman. Why? Because sexuality has been misconceptualized. Illicit sex is increased in this world. Why? Because the sexuality subject is not being taught. Young people, they are facing these problems. Why? Because the sexuality subject is being ignored. In as much as people are focusing on the spiritual aspect, I think it's high time, so that the world may be alarmed, that we should focus also on the subject of sexuality. Why? Because many people are being taken unaware with the devil. For what you do not face, you will never conquer. For David to conquer Goliath, he had to face him. For us to conquer sexuality, we have to face it and teach about it. If you just have people to do what they think, they deem what is right to them on the subject of sexuality, many of our people will be led astray. So when Jesus in John chapter 4 met a woman, the Samaritan woman, this is how he addresses the issue of sexuality. He asks from the woman, give me water so that I may drink. The woman starts talking about the relations between the Jews and the Samaritans. Then Jesus, if you would have known that I would give you water that you will never thirst again. Why? Because Jesus is the fountain of living waters. Then the woman says, give me that water. Then Jesus changes the subject. Why? Because Jesus knows the needs of the people. In his service, our Messiah ministered to the needs of the people. Why? Because he knew that this woman does not need the spiritual aspect first, but they need the sexual aspect first. For them to be sexually pure, then I will teach the spiritual aspect. Then Jesus says, where is your husband? Now Jesus is moving into the sexual aspect of this woman. Then after that, he starts teaching them about the spiritual aspect. Many people focus on doctrines, which they teach, fundamentals, which they teach. Maybe some people are very radical on these things, but forgetting what may lead people astray, which is the subject of sexuality. Why? Because sexuality is what leads to soul ties, which we will cover in the following lectures. Also, bondings which happen between people of opposite sex, limerent reactions which happen. These things should be dealt with. Why? Because if we do not deal with these things, the addiction, the loathsome practices which bring loathsome diseases. And if you practice those things and you continue in them, you are going to be tied to them. And if you haven't started any of them, don't even think of starting them, because these have repercussions. For if you go against the laws of nature, if you read Romans chapter 1 verse 26, their women have taken that which is good into that which is evil, for they have taken that which is not according to nature. Nature has her laws, and her laws reveal the character of God. So if nature says a man to a woman, how dare you say a man to a man? If nature says this should be done this way, if you go against nature and masturbate, I tell you there are loathsome diseases which are coming. These things we are going to cover them throughout the lectures. So stay tuned on this YouTube channel and subscribe, like, and thank you all viewers.